Hey Garden Fam, welcome back to The Sprout. Today we're talking about one of the most popular and rewarding summer flowers you can grow, petunias. These are the flowers that keep going and going. From late spring all the way until the first frost, they produce wave after wave of colorful blooms. Red, pink, purple, white, yellow, striped, spotted, there's a petunia for every taste. They're perfect for hanging baskets, window boxes, containers, and garden beds. And the best part? They're surprisingly easy to grow once you understand a few simple rules. Before we dive in, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. We put out new gardening videos every week, and I don't want you to miss the next one. Also, drop a comment below. Do you grow petunias? What's your favorite color? I'd love to hear about it. Now let's get into it. First, let's talk about the different types of petunias. There are several main categories, and choosing the right one for your garden matters. Grandiflora petunias have the largest flowers, up to 4 inches across. They're stunning, but the flowers can get damaged by heavy rain. Multiflora petunias have smaller flowers, about 2 inches, but they produce more of them. They're tougher and more weather resistant. Multiflora petunias are compact plants with masses of small 1-inch flowers. They're perfect for small spaces and containers. Spreading or ground cover petunias, often sold under the Wave brand, grow flat along the ground or cascade from hanging baskets. They spread up to 4 feet. They're excellent for large areas and containers. And then there are Supertunias and Calibrachoa. These are actually different plants, but often grouped with petunias. They have smaller flowers and require less head deading. Now, let's start with sun requirements. Petunias need full sun. That means at least 6 hours of direct sunlight every day. In most climates, more sun equals more flowers. If you plant petunias in too much shade, they'll get leggy, long stems with few leaves, and the flowers will be sparse. In very hot climates, like the southern United States or southern Europe, afternoon shade can help protect the plants from heat stress, but in general, give them as much sun as you can. Now let's talk about soil. Petunias need well-draining soil. They don't like wet feet. If the soil stays soggy, the roots will rot. In garden beds, amend heavy clay soil with compost or sand to improve drainage. In containers, use a good quality potting mix, not garden soil. Petunias are not picky about soil pH. They grow well in slightly acidic to neutral soil, between 6.0 and 7.0. If your soil is very acidic, add a little lime. If it's very alkaline, add sulfur or peat moss. But for most gardeners, petunias are very forgiving. Now let's talk about planting. You can grow petunias from seeds or buy young plants from a garden center. If you're starting from seeds, start them indoors 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost. Press the seeds into the soil's surface. Don't cover them. They need light to germinate. Keep the soil moist and warm. Seeds usually germinate in 7 to 14 days. If you're buying plants, wait until after the last frost to put them outside. Petunias are not frost hardy. Space Grandiflora and Multiflora petunias about 12 inches apart. Space spreading petunias about 18 to 24 inches apart. They need room to spread. Now let's talk about watering. Petunias need consistent moisture, especially in containers. In garden beds, water when the top inch of soil feels dry. In containers, you may need to water every day in hot weather. Always water at the base of the plant, not overhead. Wet leaves can lead to fungal diseases. Here's a pro tip. Petunias in containers dry out faster than in the ground. Check them every day. If the soil feels dry an inch down, water. If the plant starts to look wilted, water immediately. But don't let them sit in standing water. Make sure your pots have drainage holes. Now let's talk about fertilizer. Petunias are heavy feeders. They produce flowers all summer, and that takes a lot of energy. Use a balanced, water-soluble fertilizer like 10-10-10 or 20-20-20 every 2 weeks during the growing season. For continuous release fertilizer, mix it into the soil at planting time. If you want even more flowers, switch to a high phosphorus fertilizer, something like 10-30-20, once the plants start blooming. Signs of nutrient deficiency are yellow leaves, slow growth, and fewer flowers. Signs of over-fertilizing are brown leaf edges and a white crust on the soil. Now let's talk about deadheading. This is important for keeping petunias blooming. Deadheading means removing spent flowers. When a flower fades, pinch or cut it off at the base. This encourages the plant to produce more flowers instead of putting energy into making seeds. For Grandiflora petunias with large flowers, deadhead regularly. For Multiflora and spreading petunias, you can sometimes skip deadheading. Some modern varieties are self-cleaning, meaning the spent flowers drop off on their own. But for the best results, deadhead anyway. It takes a few minutes and makes a big difference. Now let's talk about pruning and shaping. If your petunias get leggy, long stems with few leaves, you can cut them back. In midsummer, prune the plants back by about 1/3. This encourages bushier growth and a new flush of flowers. Don't be afraid to cut them back hard, they will recover quickly. Also remove any yellow or damaged leaves throughout the season. For trailing petunias in hanging baskets, you can trim the long stems to keep the basket looking full. Now let's talk about common problems. Let's go through them one by one. Problem 1. Leggy, sparse plants with few flowers. Not enough sun. Move them to a sunnier spot. Problem 2. Yellow leaves. This can be overwatering, underwatering, or nutrient deficiency. Check the soil. If it's soggy, water less. If it's bone dry, water more. If neither, fertilize. Problem 3. Brown spots on leaves. Usually a fungal disease from wet leaves. Water at the base of the plant. Remove affected leaves. Improve air circulation. Problem 4. Flowers turning brown and mushy. Botrytis or gray mold. Remove affected flowers. Water at the base. Improve airflow. Problem 5. Pests. Petunias can get aphids, spider mites, and budworms. Aphids cluster on new growth. Spray them off with water or use insecticidal soap. Spider mites leave fine webs. Increase humidity or use neem oil. Budworms are caterpillars that eat the flower buds. Look for small holes in the buds. Use Bacillus thuringiensis or BT for organic control. Problem 6. Root rot. Too much water or poor drainage. Let the soil dry out. Improve drainage. In containers, make sure pots have drainage holes. Here's where you come in. Drop a comment below. What's your favorite petunia variety? Do you grow them in pots or in the ground? I'd love to know. Now, let's talk about growing petunias in hanging baskets. This is one of the most popular ways to grow them. Choose a basket with drainage holes. Use a light potting mix with perlite or vermiculite. Plant several petunias in the basket. They look best when full. For a spectacular look, plant a spreading variety like Wave or Supertunia. Water every day in hot weather. Fertilize every 2 weeks. Deadhead spent flowers. In midsummer, trim back the long stems to encourage new growth. Hanging basket petunias are showstoppers. Now let's talk about overwintering petunias. Most gardeners grow petunias as annuals. They finish them at the end of the season and plant new ones next year. But you can overwinter them indoors. In fall, before the first frost, take cuttings from healthy plants. Root them in water or moist soil. Keep the cuttings in a bright window over winter. In spring, plant them outside. This is a great way to save your favorite varieties. Let me give you a few quick answers to common questions. How long do petunias bloom? From late spring until the first frost, sometimes 5 or 6 months. Do petunias need heading? For Grandiflora, yes. For spreading types, not as much, but it still helps. Can I grow petunias from seed? Yes, but start them indoors early. They're slow to start. Why are my petunias not blooming? Usually not enough sun or too much nitrogen fertilizer. How do I get more flowers? full sun, regular fertilizer, and deadheading. Are petunias safe for pets? Yes, petunias are non-toxic to cats and dogs. Let's wrap everything up. Petunias are one of the best summer flowers for beginners and experienced gardeners alike. Give them full sun, at least 6 hours, plant in well-draining soil, water when the top inch of soil is dry, more often for containers. Fertilize every 2 weeks with a balanced fertilizer. Deadhead spent flowers. Cut back leggy plants in midsummer. Watch for aphids and budworms, and enjoy non-stop color until frost. Here's the most important thing to remember. Petunias are not fussy. They just need sun, water, and food. Give them those 3 things, and they will reward you with months of beautiful flowers. They're the workhorses of the summer garden. Plant them, water them, feed them, and stand back. They'll do the rest. Before you go, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave me a comment. Are you growing petunias this year? What color? In pots or in the ground? I'd love to see your garden. Also, what flower should I cover next? Marigolds? Zinnias? Geraniums? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care of your garden, and it will take care of you. See you in the next video.